Good morning. I'm Jonathan Harwell. I'm a librarian here in Georgia. It's a real pleasure. Thank you, D'Angelo, so much to be here as part of this deep dive into Prince and the Revolution's remarkable album Around the World in a Day with such a knowledgeable audience and so patient as well. So my journey with Prince began as a shy teen in 1980s Alabama. His music struck a deep chord with me then, and decades later, it's continuing to resonate, revealing new layers of meaning, especially albums like this one, released in the wake of Purple Rain's global explosion, but mostly recorded before the Purple Rain tour had even begun. 4 decades later, the opening song's invitation feels just as relevant. We're wired together globally, yet we're increasingly fractured by political and ideological divides. Prince's call to journey together, to transcend boundaries, speaks directly to this paradox. What immediately sets the title track apart is its origin. As you know, unlike most of Prince's compositions, Around the World in a Day did not spring solely from his own imagination. It began as a piece by David Coleman, Lisa Coleman's brother, in collaboration with Jonathan Melvoin, Wendy and Susanna Melvoin's brother. Prince heard something profound in this creation. He kept the musical composition largely intact, but he kept only the title from the original lyrics, and he transformed the rest of the song into the album's opening statement and its thematic core. This act of recognizing, honoring, building upon another's inspiration is significant. It reminds me of collaborative processes I've observed when studying Quaker meetings, where individual leadings are carefully listened to and woven into the larger group's vision. For Prince, known for his own genius, it's a fascinating moment of shared creation leading the way. As an anthropologist studying faith communities and their pathways toward transcendence, I'm continually drawn to Prince's spiritual explorations. His earlier work sometimes rooted us firmly in specific places, the energy of uptown Minneapolis, the allure of New York, even the manufactured magic of Disneyland. But with Around the World in a Day, Prince dramatically redraws his map. He invites us to embark on a journey transcending geographical boundaries, moving simultaneously across the physical globe and through metaphysical realms. He achieves this by weaving together real-world locations with purely symbolic imagined spaces. Cineplenty, a place full of temptation. And Paisley Park. Remember, when this album was released, Paisley Park was not yet a studio complex. It existed as a concept, a utopian ideal of creative freedom and unbounded imagination. This interplay between tangible locations and conceptual realms reflects Prince's larger artistic project, refusing easy binary divisions between the material world and spiritual reality, and insisting instead on their profound interconnection. The album's sound powerfully reinforces this boundary crossing intention. Prince grounds this expansive vision in his own limited global experience. By the time the title song was written in 1984, his international performances had only consisted of a brief 1981 European mini tour where he visited Amsterdam, London, and Paris. So the cities he name checks on this album, in Condition of the Heart, London and Paris, were places where he had actually visited and performed. So he's anchoring the fantastic journey with these personally experienced locations and making the imaginative leap sonically through global elements like finger cymbals, oud, darbuka drum, even more striking. These sounds create an environment that transcends standard American pop music, signaling a journey beyond the familiar. This ability to hold multiple cultural threads resonates with W.E.B. Du Bois's concept of double consciousness, that sense of two-ness often felt by African Americans navigating a dominant white society. Prince doesn't just experience this, he harnesses its creative potential, transforming duality into power through musical fusion, blending global sounds with his deep roots in funk, rock, and soul, lyrical invitation, crafting lyrics that beckon the listener on a journey simultaneously worldly and otherworldly, and space-time compression, The audacious idea of traveling around the world in a day on a train challenges linear Western concepts of time and space, suggesting a more cyclical understanding of experience. This connects directly to African cosmological frameworks where the world is not neatly divided between material and spiritual, but understood as an integrated whole, sometimes illustrated as two halves of a gourd. Prince invites us into paths both linear and cyclical. We're invited to climb the ladder while simultaneously circling the globe. It's about inner growth. Remember how he later said religion is about self-development, and it's also about expanding outward consciousness. The train is a powerful symbol drawn from African American spirituals, a vehicle of liberation toward a promised land. Prince's train operates outside space-time constraints, leaving all day for a wonderful trip through our time. This journey transcends ordinary experience, inviting listeners into a different way of perceiving reality, and it's open to interpretation. Does he mean a trip around the world in our present time or a trip through time? Decades before the loneliness epidemic became a recognized public health concern in 2017, Prince identified its presence here. Loneliness already knows you. He pinpoints the alienation festering beneath American individualism, but he pivots to the promise of connection. I think I know a better way. That better way is communal, shared experience, the journey itself, just like he inspired the community we see represented here today. And who's leading us on this expedition? The little one, likely referring to himself, the petite prince, as a playful guide. And the color symbolism is crucial here. The former state is represented by red, white, and blue, the colors of the national flag. But the latter state, in playing on words, also the ladder to climb, the transformed consciousness, is signified by purple, a blending of those colors. This suggests moving toward a spiritual identity that recognizes, yet ultimately transcends national boundaries. Purple becomes the color of a higher state, not defined by geopolitics. While Prince could not have known that 20 years later, purple would come to symbolize politically divided swing states, his vision resonates with transformation happening where opposing forces converge. It's a theme he would continue exploring in songs like America on the same album. This whole project, this invitation to expand consciousness, to embrace global sounds, to question linear time, has to be understood within its context. Let's think back. This was written in 1984, the height of Reagan's America, characterized by growing materialism and national exceptionalism. Prince's psychedelic, spiritual, globally minded journey represented significant countercultural resistance. So as a librarian, I have to recommend a book. Not a book about Prince, but a book to help us understand how America's cultural, political, and religious history of the 20th century connects to our present time. Kristen Dumais' book, Jesus and John Wayne, helps contextualize this moment. She traces how, during the Reagan years, a specific form of militant masculinity became intertwined with white evangelical Christianity and American nationalism, setting precedents that would later manifest in the Trump era. Prince, with his androgynous presentation, spiritual fluidity, and embrace of purple over red, white, and blue, offers a profoundly different model, a prophetic counterpoint to this hardening cultural identity. The alternative vision Prince proposes here becomes explicit in the closing passage of the song, those spoken words we can barely hear in the fade out. A government of love and music, boundless in its unifying power. A nation of alms, the production, sharing ideas, a shower of flowers. This is not just poetic imagery. It's a radical reimagining of society, founded not on economic growth or military might, but on love, creativity, and generosity, directly challenging Reagan's Morning in America narrative. And the cost of this transformative journey? Laughter is all you pay. In a society increasingly driven by consumerism, remember how in Sexuality Prince observed, we live in a world overrun by tourists. Prince declares the most profound journeys operate outside that economy. He's imagining an economy based on joy and transcendence that cannot be bought. Also, while the song advises no shouting, Prince's work demonstrates that resistance manifests in countless ways, from the imaginative subversion of this album to the direct challenges in songs like Free, We March, and Baltimore. Around the World in a Day serves as a portal to a new phase in Prince's creative journey, amplifying themes that would echo throughout his career. Spirituality as liberation, from the ladder to the cross to the holy river. Global consciousness, extending through songs like Sign of the Times and Planet Earth. The transformative power of music, central to Prince's artistic mission. His vision of a government of love and music stands in contrast to the war on empathy in current right-wing politics, where compassion is often mocked as a weakness. This contradicts not only Prince's vision, but also the golden rule across religious traditions. His work offers vital spiritual resources for resisting the devaluation of our shared humanity. Prince's Shower of Flowers stands against rhetoric that treats kindness as naive and empathy as weak. Ultimately, Prince's vision was not an escapist fantasy, but a spiritual map through struggle, not around it. In an era where democratic values are fragile, his work reminds us that effective resistance of fascism requires both spiritual grounding and courageous action. Around the World in a Day remains one of Prince's most ambitious artistic statements, a cosmological invitation, a passport offered to anyone willing to transcend limitations and embrace a more expansive understanding of reality. It does not ask us to ignore the world's struggles, but to engage them with deeper awareness, boundless creativity, and perhaps most importantly with song, dance, even laughter. Thank you so much. I look forward to your questions and insights.